great having you in studio, Fortune. We're so delighted to hear your story. And we're going to start off right with that.
Yeah.
How did you get involved in MasterChef?
I've always liked watching the show. I've always wondered how people cope in that kitchen, because it looks quite bad watching. It's even worse when you're there, but it already looks quite intense. So I filled out the form, I don't know, knowing that I couldn't make it. I don't really make the criteria. And then they called me for the audition in Cape Town. And then I was like, oh, okay. Now what do I do? Do I go? Don't I go? Everything, it seemed so far-fetched, the whole thing. Then my husband at the time actually convinced me. He said, go. Then I spoke to my boss, who said she'd pay for my flight ticket. So I was like, okay, then I have to go. So I got on the plane and slept at a friend's sister's house the night before, prepared my dish, which was what was it? Sorry, I've cooked so many dishes. It was a chicken liver parfait. It was a cold dish. For the first audition, you had to come with a cold dish that had to be at a very specific temperature. So you had to have a cool box. People had all kinds of gadgets measuring their measuring their food. I didn't. I just put in ice and hope for the best. I was in the queue for a very long time, probably about 4 hours. People were discussing their dishes. I obviously didn't know anyone. A lot of people were friends, so there were a lot of cliques and groups, and I was just sitting on my little box. People were talking about their dishes. This guy was saying, I made a yellowtail tuna. I didn't even know what yellowtail tuna was at the time. And a cucumber foam. And I thought to myself, I think you're in way over your head here. Because I was not at all at their standard. Anyway, so that first audition went quite well. They tasted my dish. It was at the right temperature. They loved it. Then they put you through to a next phase. So that first audition was like 4 phases. The rest of it was just interviews. You first interview with one person, then with 2 people, then with a room full of people and cameras. And then they send you back home. So I came back home. Then I think after 2 or 3 weeks, they emailed me saying I made it through to the next round.
Wow.
I was like, okay. And that was, I think that was top 100. Then I flew to Joburg. But then I think they started paying for my flights. That was a hot audition, cooking, you know, the one where they watch you cooking and then you have to walk in with your little trolley in this room with the 3 judges. It was so, I couldn't believe that I was there, like this was happening. I made a duck dish. And everybody was like, you're making duck? Are you crazy? Like duck breast, you have to cook absolutely perfectly. But I cooked it and then I went in with my little trolley. They were very interested with the fact that I'm Namibian, which was very strange. Somehow I managed to get in, even though I'm Namibian, because I went with the whole story of I was born before independence. So in actual fact, I'm South African. And then I quickly applied for my South African citizenship and quickly got it so that I can go through the next one, because then they told me you can't go any further if you don't do that. So went for that audition and then got my apron.
Okay.
It was surreal. Like I really couldn't believe it happened. My best friend was there because she lives in Cape Town. So when I came out with the apron, she was like, oh! I was like, I know, right? I can't believe it happened. But anyway, so that was top 25. No, that was top 50. Then I came back home. Then I went back for Bootcamp.
Okay, what is Bootcamp?
Bootcamp is now when things get serious. When they say Bootcamp, they mean Bootcamp. Here, they basically, I think this is the part where they try and see if you can handle pressure.
Right.
But I mean, you go through a lot of tests before you go on to master. By this point, they've tested you speak to therapists, you speak to, so I think they know that you can handle it, but they want to see if you can actually go onto the actual show. So Bootcamp was 3 days of just challenges, very little sleep. First day was the onion chopping challenge, which was on Nelson Mandela Bridge in scorching heat. I know
you have to chop onions.
Yeah, I know a girl who got 3rd-degree burns from standing in the sun. And then you have to do the perfect dice of an onion. So you run, you grab your bag of onions, and you just chop, 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 chop until, if the judges are happy, they put you through. And I think the last 5 go home, something like that. But we just chop, we just chop. And every 5 seconds you hear, medic, medic, like was blood. I cut myself, I don't know, maybe 5 times. I had plasters, gloves, all kinds of things. Got through that one, then the next day was, I think, the egg, whisking egg white until it's like super stiff, then holding the bowl above your head for 10 counts. That was, that on TV was quite, when I watched it afterwards, because I really struggled. First of all, I was shaking so bad that I couldn't separate the egg. The yolk kept on falling into the bowl. And I heard afterwards that the production team actually, they whispered to each other. They said, look at the Namibian girl, she can't even separate an egg.
Oh, no.
But anyway, I managed and I got through. Then the next one was a potato challenge. I think making a dish with potato or something. Got through that one. Then the last one was a braai. We had to cook everything. You have to cook a restaurant meal on a braai. That was at Acres of Humankind or something, outside of Joburg. That was the toughest one. By this time, it has been 3 days. We probably slept maybe 12 hours.
Wow.
Like they wake us up,
and
4 o'clock.
Day after day. You don't have a rest day.
Every day. This was I think it was 4 or 5 days straight on, no sleep, just every day, pressure. They wake you up, they bang like pots, and they wake you up in the morning, and then you're on the bus at 3 o'clock, and then they park the bus somewhere, and then you wait for like 2 hours just to build up, because you don't know where you're going, you don't know why you're waiting. So there was a lot of waiting time. They really let you sit around wondering, what are we going to do? So the braai challenge was hard. It was freezing cold. It was very hot during the day, so I had in shorts and like a top. And we were cooking by the lake. There's like a big lake. It was freezing. So you have this fire, and my back was like ice. And it was super hard. But I made, what did I make? I made mussels, and then I made a beef fillet. And I got through. This is now the time where you find out whether you made it onto the actual show or not.
Okay.
So we finished cooking. They make us wait for another 2 hours, and they put us on the bus. Then we drive. We don't know where we're going. I remember sleeping on the bus with a can of Monster as a pillow because I was so tired. And then we get there. I think it was like 4 o'clock in the morning. We don't have watches, so we don't know. We don't have phones. You don't have no idea of time. It's like a little world they create. Everything becomes, you forget. You actually forget that you have a life. This thing becomes so important to you that not making it through, it felt like I didn't even have a job to go back to. Mm-hmm. They make you really forget they make you forget everything else. So then we get there, and then we come in, and they're serving us dinner. Like a full-on long table. We are like, what time is it? We thought it was maybe 9 o'clock in the evening. It was 5 o'clock in the morning. But like a full-on roast and gravy, and by this time we are confused as hell. we just sitting there. We're so tired. You're too tired to even think. Then they start calling you in. They make us sit in a room like with couches, and we're called in groups, like groups of 5 or groups of 4. So somebody just comes and says, Fortune. Oh, it was myself, Guy, Sue Ann, I think Babalwa. We were 5 people. So you walk like this long walk in this dark alley, and then there's like this bright spotlights, and 3 judges are sitting up there. It's like super intense. So we're walking, we come and stand there. And then they ask you, so Fortune, how do you think you did today? I'm like, I think I did well. I couldn't even speak. Like, when they said my name, my tears already started coming. I said, I think I did okay. And they're like, so how important is this thing to you? I'm like, well, I've come this far, and I've sacrificed a lot, so it's become pretty important. How badly do you want to get into the house? Very badly. Well, unfortunately, we have bad news for you. So I literally stopped breathing. My heart stops beating. And I'm like, They're like, you're gonna have to stay away from your kids for a while. I fell to my knees. You're in the top 18. I was like, oh my God. I really couldn't believe it. I just could not believe that I made it.
But I'm sure it's like a cauldron of emotions that are going on inside of you, because the lack of sleep, the pressure, the competition, the strange environment, the disconnect from your family, it probably is an unbelievable situation to try and endure. So how do you manage to maintain your sense of cool in an environment like that?
The flip side of MasterChef is the relationships that you build. So you become a unit with the people that you are with, and you depend on each other a lot. So when you go home in the evenings, you have people who are going through exactly the same thing that you can talk to. You can blow off steam. And then I think for me it was a matter of pride. I was so proud that I got that far, that I just wanted to do better. Yeah. And I wanted to prove that I deserved to be there as much as everyone else, because I felt a lot like an underdog. Because I didn't have the same experience that everybody else had. I didn't grow up with a very rich food culture. I didn't have enough of a food bank, basically, to rely on. So all of these things pushed me, and they brought out something in me that I never even knew existed, that could actually handle this kind of pressure. Yeah. But then it's also fun. You know, it's interesting because you don't know what you're going to do. So all of these things, I think, help you deal with it. And yes, you cry. I cried a lot. I think I cried after every challenge, just like, it's over. I missed my family a lot, so I cried when I missed them. And crying helps me always. When I let go of emotions, I can take more.
Absolutely.
So when I think back, I can't believe that I managed. Somehow I did. I think you learn, because everything happened in phases. If I knew what was coming next, I probably would not have been able to do it. But I didn't know, so you just have to handle when it's happening.
It's so similar to life, though, because life is full of challenges and obstacles and emotions and relating and forming relationships to be able to cope. I had a question on the relationships. Did you guys really vent, and were you that, I'm going to tell you exactly where I'm at right now, and this was what the day was like with your other MasterChef contestants? Did you communicate how you were feeling a lot?
A lot. I mean, we formed bonds with obviously some people, not with everyone. I became very close with Babalwa. She's from Cape Town. Me and her became very close, so we would always, after a challenge, go sit and vent and cry and hug, and so you make friends, and it really becomes, and it becomes like you're competing against each other, but you're all rooting for each other. It's a very healthy. The relationships there are very healthy. There's no no jealousy, everybody wants everybody to do well.
But it's a really interesting journey that you've gone through, because we were saying now it's so similar to life. Life is also like a pressure cooker sometimes. And if you're flustered, you're not going to be able to take whatever's coming at you with the way, or in the way that you would want to. And it's also about understanding yourself and being aware of where you've come from and your emotions, so that you can deal with whatever pressure gets thrown at you. And that sense of pride that you said, if we all have that sense of pride for ourselves, it's again, if we can handle whatever life is throwing at us.
And it's taught me a lot of things about myself, and I think I'm better at pressure now than I was before because of that experience. Because it taught me that I can handle a lot. Two, it told me, it really made me believe that I'm much stronger than I think I was. I didn't think I would get that far. I didn't think I would handle that kind of pressure, but I found out that I can. So I came out a lot more confident, a lot more, I have this attitude of, if I could do that, I can do this. That kind of
anything.
So it's made me very confident, and I know that I'm a strong person, and I know that I can pretty much handle anything you throw at me.
Which is great.
Which is great.
Absolutely.
Although I do buckle.
But we all do.
Yeah.
But what advice would you have to somebody, or for anybody else that's listening, who doesn't have the opportunity to go on MasterChef and learn how to handle the pressures of life and learn how to handle themselves and their emotions within those pressures?
I think my advice would be, the one thing that worked for me is feeling things, and trying to not. When I try to not feel something, it's harder. So I always allow myself to feel. I allowed myself to feel the pressure, and if I felt like crying, then I cried. And if I just accepting it as opposed to pushing it or pushing back helped me deal. So absolutely. Allow yourself to feel things. Feel them and let them pass. And then do the next thing.
Exactly. I love that you say that you embrace crying, because we live in a world where tears are seen as a sign of weakness, and they're not. They're actually ultimate strength, because you're willing to let go of whatever it is that you're going through. And you
literally feel the tension leaving you.
It does. It leaves
you. I sometimes in my car at traffic lights, people look at me like, why are you crying? I'm like, because I need to cry. Just leave me alone.
Just get it out. I must say, I like to cry.
And then I'll walk into the room and I'm like, hi.
Yeah, exactly.
And you wouldn't believe I was crying just now.
Exactly. But if you'd held on to those emotions and not cried them out, then you've got, it bottles inside of you and it festers.
Then it becomes an issue.
Yeah, it
so
explodes.
I think that would be my advice. Feel, let it go. And I guess self-belief is very important. Like, believe in yourself, believe you can do believe that you are stronger. You are strong. I think everybody can be strong. It's just a matter of believing that you are.
Absolutely. We've all got that power inside of ourselves.
Everybody has.
Yes, exactly.
That's what I try to teach my children.
To be strong. But it's very often the case we don't know how strong we are until we're given the opportunity to see for ourselves actually the strength that lies within us.
Exactly. So cooking for me is a passion. I have a full-time job, but cooking is a passion that I need it. I need it to be a part of my life, to be able to, so that I can be good at other things. Because it allows me to be creative. It allows me to... The thing I love the most is when people eat my food and enjoy it. It makes me... Because I'm such a mom.
And it's also fantastic, an example of the fact that you don't necessarily need to work in your passion. You said you have a full-time job, you just love cooking, but that every person needs passion. They need to have a place where they can explore their passion, even if it's not their job.
Yeah, and actually I feel employers should encourage people to follow their passions and give them the time to do so. Not obviously not during work hours, but encourage. Like when Truda paid for my ticket, my boss, to go to Cape Town, that for me was such a huge thing, because that meant that she understood that this was a passion and it has nothing to do with the job that I was doing there. But doing this makes me better at my job.
Yeah,
so
absolutely.
Passion for me is a very important thing too.
Exactly. Awesome. Well, thank you so much for that wonderful advice. Do you have any closing words for us?
Thank you very much for inviting me onto the show. I felt so honored to be here.
It's an honor to have you on the show.
Other than that, no. Can't think of anything to say. Thanks, Kirsty.
That's perfect. Thank you. Audio Jungle.